What is going on with this Auburn and Oklahoma line?
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Jake Crain of Crain & Company joining us from the worst place on earth. You're in Tuscaloosa, right?
Yeah, man, we're live streaming the game from Innisfree tomorrow night, a Saturday night. But yeah, you can smell the sulfur already. I just hope I not brought enough garlic and silver.
Yeah. Good luck, my friend. What is going on with this Auburn and Oklahoma line? It opens up Oklahoma a 2.5-point favorite. Now, looking at FanDuel Sportsbook, Auburn is a 1.5-point favorite.
Yeah,
over the Oklahoma Sooners.
Well, it's got to be, deal with the injury situation that Oklahoma has. I mean, they put out that injury report. It looked like, they're either going to play a football game or just lost a battle during the Civil War. And Zach, look, you get beat up throughout the year. It's something that happens, but it feels like it's so concentrated, especially in the wide receiver room at Oklahoma. You look at the offensive line.
Yeah.
Again, I think, the line movement is not what, it's shocking to me. It's really the total in the game and how when you're down this many wide receivers with a brand new quarterback going into hostile territory in the SEC, probably going to call it somewhat conservative. And on the other side, if you're Auburn, realizing that Oklahoma's down so many big time players on offense and you've turned it over at the rate that Auburn has, you're probably going to play it pretty conservative. So I'm looking at the total for the game, but seeing the line flip after that injury report came out, it doesn't surprise me, but it's unfortunate for Oklahoma. But if you're Auburn, you got to take advantage.
Yeah, and how do you take advantage? You take care of the football. So what's the magical recipe? What's the magical part of this game plan, Jake, where this coaching staff, okay, they have all the tape from the Cal game. They have all the tape from the Arkansas game. What can you do differently to say, okay, let's don't turn it over 5 times?
Well, and that's one of the things I think the scheme, and you've heard Coach Freeze talk about this. You have guys that are open. There are things that are working. Auburn is able to move the ball, but they keep making catastrophic mistakes. And I mean, what's the worst thing you can do on offense? It's turning the ball over. So to me, the remedy to that, outside of just saying, well, we're not going to throw it as much, but you still got to throw it at some point. And the minute you start calling plays just to stay, protect yourself, is the minute you're not able to set any type of tone to the defense and they kind of got you in a phone booth. So, look, they're going to lean on the run game more. I wonder if Oklahoma, especially after the first couple drives, when Hugh sees, Oklahoma's capability to move the ball or not, on Auburn, if they're going to say, listen, let's keep this thing on the ground, kind of like what Tennessee did in the second half of that game against Oklahoma. They said, all right, you're not moving the ball very well. You got a brand new guy at quarterback. We're not going to take too many chances. But again, it's kind of like talking about taking a guy's stinger away with targeting on defense. You want guys out there hunting. You want them to make big hits. So there's a fine line in between saying, hey, take it easy, and then, hey, we got to keep you in the game. Don't target a guy, but I still want you to play hard, fast, and physical. So that's what Hugh Freeze and them got to figure out. And look, at some point, look, the buck stops with the head coach. The quarterback's got to make the throws, man. Like you've got to make the plays. I can call the perfect play. I can put you in a great situation, but you've got to make the plays. So it's a fine line you got to walk, but the flow of this game, like it normally does, is going to determine the amount of urgency Auburn has offensively to try and hit big plays through the air.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but you've kind of alluded to it a few times, so I'm going to now. Hugh Freeze being very honest, very critical, saying, hey, the scheme is fine. We've got to execute. We've got to find somebody who's not going to turn the football over, whether he's talking about the quarterbacks or the running backs. Media has really ran with this, saying that Hugh Freeze is throwing his players under the bus. You buy any of that?
Well, look, I think when you're losing games, anything that, I mean, if Auburn was 4-0 right now and he said something critical, everybody in the media would be saying, look how transparent Hugh Freeze is about the players. Like this is what you want from a coach. So you're a victim of circumstance sometimes. Now that doesn't excuse the way that Auburn's played, and I think there's been some poorly coached moments, throughout on offense and defense. But
Okay.
to me, I always used to think if I was ever going to say anything to the media, even if I'm right, and I know Hugh knows this, is it going to help my team or hurt my team? Like, is me saying that, while it is true, you can see the guys that are open. You can see Auburn moving the ball. You can see the poor play at quarterback, which he's still responsible for. So we all know it's obvious if you're watching the game. Him just stating the obvious, though, how does that help anything in the locker room? I don't think any player is going to be like, I'm going to play better because now, I got, kind of put out there that I wasn't playing good. We all knew that. I just think at some point, and again, Hugh Freeze is his own man.
Yeah.
He's been doing this a lot longer than me, but I just don't see how saying that helps you, right? Instead of just being like,
It's a great
listen,
point.
I'm the head coach. The buck stops with me, especially at the quarterback position. We're not playing the way that we should play or the way that I want us to play, and I'm
Yeah.
going to fix it. I just don't. Again, how does it help you by saying any of that stuff?
That's a great perspective. That's a great perspective for sure. I'm going to ask for your official picks in just a moment. Jake Crain of Crain and Company hanging out with us on today's Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more all on the same page where you place your bets. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And like we said, Auburn now a 1.5-point favorite, according to our friends at FanDuel, with that over-under at 44.5. I think I'm still taking the under on that, even though it has dropped dramatically. We'll get Jake's thought on that too in just a moment. But yeah, head over to FanDuel.com/LockedOn, America's #1 sportsbook. Folks couldn't see it, but when I said 44.5 over under, you're pointing down. You're taking the under. Not a whole lot of points to be scored on Saturday.
No, I mean, you got to, right? I mean, I don't know how you can convince yourself to take the over. And look, football's crazy. You could have, a pick
Sure.
six here, a block punt for a touchdown that puts it over. But
Yeah.
if this game is somewhat clean, and again, I go back to the point I made at the beginning, I think there's going to be a lot of conservative play calling. I think you're going to see something very similar in the Texas A&M Arkansas game. I just don't see a world in which it's like, all right, here we go. It's going to be bombs over Baghdad today when we get out there, whether you're Auburn or Oklahoma.
So where do you lean in this? Earlier this week, I picked Oklahoma. This line doesn't change my opinion. I think my score was like 23-17, something like that, in favor of Oklahoma. Where are you in this one?
Well, even with all the injuries, and saying, well, Auburn's played good except turning the ball over. That's like saying, oh, well, you had a good race, but you crashed into the wall with a lead in NASCAR. Like, it doesn't,
Got
until
it.
you show me that you can consistently not screw up. And that's
Yeah.
on both sides of the ball during big moments too, right? The defense overall played well against Arkansas, but in big moments where you had to have it, you found a way to screw it up. So I just, even with the new quarterback coming in, and I hope I'm wrong. And
Mhm.
even with all the injuries, I just think Auburn's, has choked so many times. And I think that's why you saw that player only meeting where Eugene Asante's like, dude, we got to make the plays. Like, that's the thing. Like I don't. It feels like Auburn's just waiting to screw up. And I'm not talking about the fans, the players. At some point, you got to want that moment. You've worked your whole life to get to a place like Auburn or Oklahoma or Alabama, whatever. You should want that moment. Not that you're going to make the play every time, but it
Yeah.
seems like Auburn lately, the last 4 years almost, never makes the play. So, knowing the way Auburn operates, we'll win by 30. But I just don't know how you pick them with what you've seen with the turnover department and rushing three and getting beat deep, or rushing
Yeah.
three and not covering the flats. I think you got to go with Oklahoma in that defense.
Yeah. I will happily be wrong, and
Oh, I'd
hopefully
love to be
Auburn does
wrong.
score 30. I'd love to be wrong too. So we'll see. Jake Crain, how can people check out, excuse me, everything you've got going on, and even this weekend? Tell that there's a lot happening this weekend too.
Oh yeah, man, it's really easy. If you watch, your sports shows, it's easiest to find us on YouTube. It's Crain and Company, Crain Company. If you listen, it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify at the same name. This is how this is about to go. All right, we're going to live stream the Alabama-Georgia game, which means we're commentating it while everybody else is watching it, including the people that are going to be at Innisfree, which they're expecting about 600, mostly going to be Bama fans. It's either going to go one way. Either Bama's going to win and it's going to be jubilant for them around them, and I picked Bama, so I won't be that upset, or Alabama's going to lose in front of all those people, and I will be able to see all their reactions in real time. So if you're down with that, come hang out with us.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I picked Bama to win as well. So
yeah,
we'll see. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.